Well, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast. It is Thursday, February the 11th, 2021, and you're here with me for the next 1800 seconds. I want to ask you a couple questions. First of all, I want to know, are you a control freak? That's just a question. I don't use that word very often, but I just wonder, are you a control freak? And then, do you ever regret helping people? Have you done things for people and then regretted helping them? That's question number two. Question number three is this: how important is your character? So, three questions that we're going to talk about. One, are you a control freak? The second one is, have you ever done things for people that you regret doing? And then the third is, how important is your character? Listen, you're here for 1800 seconds with Cutler on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast. And I tell you what, we're going to talk about those things and more as soon as we come back.
Let's talk to Cutler. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to Cutler.
All right. Well, I'm back and I'm here with you for 1800 seconds. This is Cutler on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast. And if you're joining me for the first time, you are joining me for a ride, and we're going to become the most crowded car on the highway because we are driving and riding along the highway of life, and we're reading the billboards to better. I expect that we're going to have the most crowded car on the highway because each Tuesday and Thursday, I'm here with you at 8 o'clock. And my goal is to make sure that we're inspired, to make sure that we are motivated, and to make sure that we are challenged to become better. Now, listen, we are reading quotes each Tuesday and Thursday from this book right here, Billboards to Better, 366 daily sources of motivation and inspiration for life. 366 daily sources of inspiration and motivation along the highway of life. Yes, I wrote it. Sometimes I'm just sort of captivated by the book itself. I can't believe some of the things and the moments that are in there. But I'm thankful. And I tell you what, as we are reading this book, Billboards to Better, you can go on over to Amazon.com and get it, or you can pick it up by going to my website, www.gbcutler.com. That's www.gbcutler.com. I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to shout out in just a moment our LTTC VIPs for the evening. I'll shout you all out. But here's what I want you to do. As you're coming in, make sure you go ahead and do a thumbs up on the conversation because it says to YouTube, I kind of like what the guy's talking about. But for me, on a personal level, it says that you are really inspired and that you are motivated by the conversation. I know I'm thankful for you spending this time with me. So for whatever space that you're sharing, I'm thankful and I'm humbled by that. So thank you so much. I do want to go ahead and shout out our LTTC VIPs for the evening. And they are Nikki, Cornelia Smith, and Raydella Lewis, and Jackie Cares RN. I hope you all are all doing well. Go ahead and share this page, share this channel. If you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure that you subscribe. And once you subscribe, go one step further. Click on the bell. The bell is a notification. It lets you know whenever I have gone live and whenever I've uploaded new content. I haven't gone live that much without you knowing it, but sporadically from time to time, I may decide to go live. All right. Come on over to the chat room. Let's talk because I'm on using this new this new software. So I want to see you guys in the chat and I want y'all to talk to me so that not only do you hear me, but I get a chance to hear you. Well, not really hear you, but at least read and see what you have to say. You all know what we do every Tuesday and Thursday. We're here for only 1800 seconds. I try not to waste your time. And when we're here each Tuesday, we're reading our quotes from Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And then when we come back on Thursday, we're reading the quotes for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And again, we're reading from the book, Billboards to Better. And our goal is to make sure that we are empowered to show up better tomorrow than we did today. If we had to give a mantra or an elevator speech for what this channel is all about, this channel is about empowering us to be able to show up better tomorrow than we did today. And we're doing that by unpeeling the layers of these quotes and discussing them. And that's what it's all about. So again, thank you for joining me here on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, as we are here every Tuesday and Thursday. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and get started reading the quotes. And I'm curious to hear from you and to hear your comments as we are reading and moving along. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's do that. Our quote for February the 10th. The quote for February 10th says, "Get out of God's way. He knows what he's doing and he knows where he's going." Get out of God's way. He knows what he's doing and he knows where he's going. I tell you this quote is about our inability or even our ability to relinquish control. So when I started the broadcast this evening, my question was, are we a control freak? I know I don't usually use that word, and I hope I don't get in trouble for using it. But I've learned, you all, in life that there are just some things that I can't handle. There's some things I cannot change, some things I cannot manage, and there are some things that I cannot direct. And then there are other things for which I just can't force an outcome. No matter what outcome I want, I cannot force that outcome. I've learned that I can minimize the gray hairs and the premature balding if I release those things that are beyond my control. You see, sometimes we're holding on to the reins and the steering wheels that don't belong in our hands. Sometimes we're just along for the ride, for the support. And then the next thing we know is that someone hands over the reins and they hand over the steering wheel to us. But I've learned to hand it right back to them and say to them, this is your vision. This is your goal. This is your dream. This is your product. This is your project. This is your baby. I'm just here to help and support. So if you're going to end up trying to hand me the steering wheel, I'm just going to get out the car. That's just me. I'm telling you all, because what I've discovered and what I've had to say to people, and not so many words and not so many terms, is this. You don't get to invite me along for the ride and then make me do the driving. No, ma'am. No, sir. You don't get to invite me along for the ride and then expect me to do the driving. I've learned to stop letting people unload their responsibilities on me. I'm not a control freak. I don't always need to be in charge. God has blessed me with a number of opportunities where I play a leading role every day. So I'm telling you, I enjoy those moments when I can sit back and let somebody else do the driving. What am I saying to us this evening? Don't let people force control onto you for something that is not yours. And conversely, the opposite, I will say, don't give away control of something that rightly belongs to you. So we really have to ask for clarity and vision as to what belongs to us and what doesn't. Sometimes control belongs to us and sometimes it doesn't. And we also need to know who is in our lives as passengers and co-pilots. We sometimes get mad at people because they're just a passenger in our lives and we're trying to make them a co-pilot, trying to put the steering wheel in their hand. And then sometimes we get frustrated because we are in people's lives to be a co-pilot and they only want to use you as a passenger. We would have less frustrations with people if we understood the roles that they play in our lives and the roles that we play in theirs. I did a segment some time ago about check your circles. It's about knowing who is in your circle and what are they there for? What is their purpose? What is their goal? Do they play a leading role, a following role, a supporting role? Or are they just intermittent characters that show up? Check your circles. And even beyond people, this quote speaks to what I call the control freak in some of us. And many of us by nature, we find ourselves engaged with fixing things and finding answers and solving problems and coming up with solutions. Whenever life tosses us a question, we feel compelled to come up with an answer. Whenever it tosses us a problem, we feel compelled to come up with a solution. But there are some things that I've learned, some things we just don't have an answer to. Some things we just don't have a solution for. Or maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one who feels like this. Maybe I'm the only one who's had this experience. I wish I knew how to heal a broken heart. I wish I knew how to mend a wounded soul. I wish I knew how to restore hope that had been cast down. I wish I knew how to renew strength that had been exhausted. I wish I knew how to guide the future, but I don't. Sometimes we have to come to a resolution that I don't. I don't know how to do it for anybody else, and I don't even know how to do it for myself. So I've learned to step aside. I've got to take my hands off of it. I've learned to yield. I've learned to submit. I've learned how to just give it to God. And when I give it to him, there's one thing that I give to him in addition to it. I give him my ear. All of those things, those problems, those answers, all of those things, I give it to him. But what I also give him is my ear. Because when I give it to him, I'll listen as to how he wants to guide me. I'll listen as to how he wants to steer me. I'll listen as to how he wants to direct me. Some of us, maybe some of you can relate to this example. Have you ever been doing anything around the house, around your yard, or anywhere in general, and maybe you had little ones who wanted to help you? So they would clamor around your legs and they would get in your personal space for as much as they wanted to help you. You found out that they were not as helpful as they wanted to be. Is that just my experience? If that's your experience, please let me know in the chat room. You've had little folk around you who really wanted to help, but they weren't as helpful as they really wanted to be. And you will say to them, listen, I'll let you know when I need your help. I'll let you know when I can use your help. Or I'll let you know if I need your help. It is the same way. It's interesting, but it's the same way with us sometimes. Might it be like that with us and God? Could we be clamoring around his legs, getting in his way, prolonging the very thing that he's trying to do for us? And really, all we need to do is the same thing that we would tell those little ones in our lives. Get somewhere and sit down. He knows how to do what he does. No one is a better blesser. I might be making up that word, but no one can bless us better. No one is a better waymaker. No one is a better grace giver. No one is a better hope replenisher. No one is a better strength renewer. Let's just get out of the way. So for February 10th, our quote is a reminder. Get out of God's way. He knows what he's doing, and he knows where he's going. All right, we are reading from this book right here, Billboards to Better, 366 Daily Sources of Motivation and Inspiration Along the Highway of Life. All right, only got 1,800 seconds. And while I'm here, I often say I have to make every second significant, every moment matter, and every minute meaningful. I really do. So let's move on to our quote for February 11th, okay? Our quote for February 11th says this: we are the reward that Jesus saw through all of his suffering. May we never cause him to regret his decision. May we never cause him to regret his decision. Have you ever given someone something to wear? I'm going to try to put a different spin and twist on this. You all do me a favor, and can you welcome Miss Odessa Jones to the chat room? So those of you who are in the chat room with me, can you just make Miss Odessa Jones feel great and wonderful for joining? It is so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining here, the Let's Talk the Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk the Cutler program. Thank you for coming along for the ride. We're reading from my 7th book, and we're talking about the quote now that says, we are the reward that Jesus saw through all of his sufferings. May we never cause him to regret his decision. Y'all make sure you say hi to her and make her feel real good, all right? So I'm wondering, have you ever given someone something to wear? And then when you saw them with it, they looked like a hot mess. I'm just wondering, I just want to know, have you ever given somebody something to wear? You saw them with it, and when they were wearing it, they looked a hot mess. I mean, they didn't look quite like you imagined. And you say to yourself, I shouldn't have given them that. I shouldn't have given them that. Or have you ever given someone any kind of gift and you watch how they used it, how they consumed it, and you said to yourself, I bet you I won't do that again. Maybe it's just me. Have you or have you ever worked hard to make sure, here we go, that someone acquires or achieves something? Maybe a child or maybe a relative or someone for whom you cared. You worked hard to make sure they achieved something. And when you watched how they handled the fruit of your labor, you said to yourself, I did all this for that. And it made you think twice about the investment that you had made, the investment of your time, the investment of your energy, and sometimes the investment of your money, because you looked at how they handled the thing that you had worked so hard for them. And you said, I did all this for that. Those are the times. Those are the times when you say the ends don't seem to justify the means. In other words, the final outcome does not reflect the hard work that I put into this, the sweat that I put into this, the tears that I put into this. Maybe you can't relate to that. Does anybody have the experience of buying a first car, or any car for that matter, and it turned out to be a lemon? Does anybody have the experience of buying a home, whether it's the first home, second home, but you have the experience of buying a home or a house that presented you with problem after problem after problem, and ultimately you were sorry that you ever bought the car, you were sorry that you ever bought the house? I sometimes think about how people can handle things. And I think about how people will handle the things that I leave them when I'm no longer here. The things that I've worked for, the things that I've put in sweat equity. I've tried to live in such a way that I'll have a few things that I think are worth having. No, I don't have a huge estate, but that's not the point. The point is that I would like for people to appreciate when I leave. I would like for them to appreciate what I leave them and handle it with the care and the consideration that was based on the love with which I'm leaving it. I want them to handle it like they appreciate it. I want them to handle like they appreciate it, and that it didn't necessarily come so easily, but it came with years, and it came sometimes with tears, and some of it may have come with struggles. So I want them to appreciate it. Now, as a sidebar, let me just put this in. Some of y'all know my background in training. So just as a sidebar, talking about leaving people things, y'all please make sure this is a sidebar. Y'all get this comment for free. Make sure you write a will. Sometimes within my particular culture, we don't like to talk about death, dying, or wills. But as you all have that conversation with the important people in your lives, and you make sure you write a will. Let me get back on track. Y'all got that one for free, okay? You got that one for free. We don't like to talk about it, but please do yourselves and your families a favor, your loved ones a favor. Write a will. Speaking of leaving things, let me get back on track here, all right? Talking about how people handle the things that we give them. So it really made me think about that. And it made me think, you all, I wonder if anyone has ever been sorry about the investment that they made in me. And I said to myself, based on this particular quote that we're reading right now, I never want God to have any regrets about his investments in my life. If he says I am the masterpiece of his handiwork, I always want to live so that I look like something crafted by the hand of God. That's my mantra. If Christ looked beyond the cross and thought that I was worth what he would have to endure, the least I can do is to live so that he doesn't regret his decision. I hope I'm speaking to somebody's heart. This is not about being flawless. This is not about being infallible, but this is about being committed. It's about valuing the life that I've been handed. It's about being committed to handling my role in creation. It's about safeguarding the things over which I have stewardship. It's about treating people right, about treating myself right. This is about being concerned about the impact that I have and about the influence that I generate. So when we talk about we are the reward that he saw, let's make sure that he never regrets his decision. This is about doing our part in the world where we now live, in the world where we exist. It's about honoring the trust that we were given. One of the greatest joys in my life is knowing that my mother is proud of me. Knowing that her struggles led to making a better me. Hearing her say, I would go through those struggles all over again if it means taking care of my children and making sure that their needs were met. That's one of the greatest joys of my life. That's one of them. And on a spiritual plateau, one of the greatest joys of my life will have been to have lived a life that Christ doesn't regret anything that he did for me. I never want God to regret waking me up to see a new day. So I challenge us and I encourage us, let's live in such a way that no one has to regret. Let's live in such a way so that no one has to regret having died for us. Whether it's our ancestors who could, if they could, would speak from the grave, or whether it's Christ who died on the cross. I want to live in such a way that no one ever regrets having died for me. All right, listen, I told y'all I got to move on, right? We are the reward that he saw. Got to move on. We're reading from Billboards to Better. I hope you all are enjoying the broadcast. I really do. I hope you all enjoying the broadcast. All right. All right. So let's see. We're going to go on to, I see some of you are having technical difficulties. I see it. So I hope that you can do the replay. So I got to go on to let's see, our quote for February 12th. All right. I'm going on to our quote for February 12th. And the quote says, discipline is not about comfort. It's about character. Because remember one of the three questions that I asked at the beginning of the broadcast was, how important is your character to you? So discipline is not about comfort. It's about character. This quote goes on to say, God disciplines and chastises us because he loves us. Discipline does not necessarily feel good, but it works out for our good. I have a whole lot of things running in my head, y'all. So let me see if I can pull all of this together as I talk about discipline. I was having a conversation with someone a few days ago about how I was disciplined as a child. And I'm not talking about just being disciplined by my mother, but I grew up in an age where you could be disciplined by members of your community. You could be disciplined by members of your church and by the authority figures in the school system. That's how and where and when I grew up. So no, this conversation, though, is not about the kind of discipline that's acceptable. That's not really the conversation. But this is just about discipline in general terms. This is about general terms. Whatever your preferred type of discipline may be, so just think about discipline. But when I was a child, you all, I'm going to tell you all this. There was one teacher who would bend your hand back and take one of those rulers and paddle your hand. Then there was another teacher who would put you in the coat closet. You all are thinking, where did you grow up? There was another teacher who would make you stand in the corner. I even had one teacher who would make us stand on one foot and put chalk on the board and put our nose in the chalk. Crazy stuff, right? But then there was another teacher who would shake us. I wish I could tell you all about all of these teachers. And if you got sent to the principal's office, the principal might even paddle you. So that's the kind of discipline where I grew up. Fortunately, I didn't have to go through all of that. And even if we were disciplined at home, It was enough for me to watch. I have two older brothers. It was enough for me to watch my brothers get disciplined to curb my behavior. That's all I needed to see. All I needed to see was them get disciplined. That was enough for me to stop doing whatever I might have even thought about doing. And I remember this one time in particular, my mother spanked us. And she's having technical difficulties tonight, so maybe it was intended for her not to hear this. But I remember one time when my mother spanked us, and she started crying, you all. And after she started crying, then she made us get on our knees and she started praying. And she was crying and praying. Well, when people say this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you, I look back at that example and I realized that it really did hurt her. It really did hurt her. And don't get it wrong now, the discipline hurt us too. But I realized it hurt her. And as I grew in age, I realized that discipline does hurt. And if it doesn't hurt, at a minimum, it makes you uncomfortable. And I realized that discipline is never about anybody's comfort, but it's about your character. That's what I want to talk about tonight in these next few seconds that I have with you. Discipline is not about your comfort. It's about your character. As a child, I was disciplined so that I would show up a better person. And that is the one thing that's consistent in my life today. Whether I am disciplined by God or whether I choose to discipline myself, it's all so that I can show up a better person. Corrective action by any measure doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel so good because it is going to hurt something. It is going to hurt something. It is going to bruise something. It is going to make something uncomfortable. Catch this, even if it's my ego. As an adult, if I am disciplined, it's going to hurt something, bruise something, or make something uncomfortable, even if it's my ego. And while we're here talking every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm telling you all this, becoming better is not always comfortable. Why? Because it forces me to do something differently than how I did it before. It causes me to change my pattern. That's why we're on this highway together, so that we can lift, so that we can inspire, so that we can motivate, so that we can challenge, so that we can hold each other accountable, so that we can commend and applaud each other in this space that we share. That's why we're here every Tuesday and Thursday, because no, it doesn't always feel good. And sometimes you need someone to applaud you and tell you you're doing a good job, or to remind you that we're in this thing together. That's why when I say to you, I'm thankful and I'm humbled. And I'm humbled that you would share this space, because it helps discipline me as well. We all need accountability partners. That's why we're riding down this highway of life, reading these billboards, trying to get better. That's why we're here every Tuesday and Thursday. No matter how large or how small our audience may be, we're committed to being better. So I'm telling you all, each time I say I'm just trying to save your life, it's because somebody took the time to help save mine. Every time I say, I hope this inspires you, it's because somebody one day made a deliberate effort to try to inspire my life. And I'd be less than a human being. I'd be less than grateful if I didn't try to do for others what somebody took the time to do for me. It's one reason I wrote this book. That's why I wrote this book. It's because I wanted to share some of those moments, some of those crucial moments, some of those critical moments, some of those pivotal moments that rerouted my life, spoke to my character, and told me that I didn't have to show up raggedy, that I didn't have to show up undone, that I didn't have to show up broken, and I didn't have to show up dismayed. That's why I wrote this, because it captures those moments that reminded me that I could show up complete, and I could show up wholesome. I could show up at peace, and I could show up better today than I did yesterday. That's what these moments are all about. Somebody made an investment into developing my character. And no one has made a bigger investment than God. He still loves me enough to chastise me. And I'm thankful that he loves me enough to offer me the guidance to keep me off a path of impending doom and destruction. You see, he offers us guidance, but it's up to us to accept it. And following his guidance, just like sometimes following the guidance of our parents, doesn't always feel good. But you all hear me clearly when I say this. I would rather break my own ego than to break the heart of the one who gives me life. Discipline causes me to realize that things really do work together for my good. You all, this has been 1800 Seconds here on the Let's Talk the Color broadcast. I am so thankful that you all chose to share this time, that you chose to share this space with me. I hope that you all share this channel and let people know that we're talking good on these Tuesdays and Thursdays. I hope that you all continue to send me your comments, continue to send me your feedback while we're having this dialogue, because as I'm sharing with you, I'm also reading your comments as well. Thank you all for this 1800 seconds. I won't even end with the poem tonight. We'll pick that up next Tuesday. But I want to say to you, because by the time we next speak, we will have gone through Valentine's Day. So it is a great thing for me to say to you all, from my heart to yours, there is much love. But until then, you all, let's do this. Let's continue to build community. Let's continue to maintain connectivity. Keep your heads up. Keep your hopes up. And during this time, you all make sure you stay safe and stay sane. Again, from my heart to yours, much love. Good night, and I will see you all Tuesday.